guys. Thank you for tuning into our podcast. My name is Ella Swantek, and I am a senior marine science major, and I went through formal recruitment in the fall of 2021.
Hi guys, I'm Sarah Antine. I'm also a senior at Coastal. I'm a psych major, and I also went through recruitment in fall of 2021.
So today we're going to be talking about belonging versus fitting in, but before we jump into that, we're going to jump into the values of all of our organizations on campus, which is really important because we have a values-based recruitment, and it's really important to see kind of what those look like for each organization as they do vary.
Okay, so first we have Alpha Z's Delta, and their values are service, sisterhood, leadership, and knowledge.
Next we have Alpha Delta Pi, which is scholarship, leadership, service, and sisterhood.
We have Sigma Kappa, and there's our friendship, loyalty, service, and personal growth.
Next, we have Chi Omega, which is scholarship, friendship, high standards of personnel, service, campus involvement, and career and personal development.
And we have Phi Sigma Sigma, which is scholarship, sisterhood, and service.
And Gamma Phi Beta, which is love, labor, learning, and loyalty.
And then we have Sigma Sigma Sigma, which is faith, hope, love, wisdom, and power.
So a lot of these have a lot of overlap, especially with service and sisterhood and scholarship, but it's important to look at all of their values because they do vary by organization.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of the Panhellenic community values a lot of the same things just overall. I know when you, before you go through recruitment, you have to do, the tree of ranking and everything, and it's kind of hard to pick ones to narrow it down to, but again, joining one organization doesn't mean that you can't value another's value. So
yeah, and these values are all really wonderful and definitely something that every woman in the great community values. So as important as it is to look at all of them, it also doesn't mean you're having to pick those values and only live by those values.
Right. While also still being able to show those values as a sorority woman, though.
Yes. Okay, so let's jump into belonging versus fitting in. When we were first given this topic to talk about, one of the things on the list was talking about why we joined versus why we stayed. So I know I joined the great community because I am very far away from home, and I kind of came into it with, really stereotypical view of sorority, but I really wanted to find that home away from home, and that is, definitely what I have found.
I agree. Mine's a little bit similar. I'm also far away from home, and I only knew, a few select people going to Coastal, and I just wanted to find, a big group that I could kind of fall back on to hang out with and be a part of and, do all the things that they do.
Yeah, so let's talk about a little bit about what belonging means. What do you think what would that mean for you? Because I think it's different per person,
Yeah. So I feel like belonging is kind of where everyone accepts you for who you are, and not having to change for anyone, just to show your true colors and have true friends that support you no matter what your personality's like.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with that, and I think the really big difference between belonging and fitting in is belonging is finding that place where, like Sarah said, where you feel like you can belong, obviously, but be your true self there, whereas fitting in can kind of lead to you wanting to change something about yourself in order to feel like you fit in.
Yeah, just being accepted for who you are just makes a big difference, just because you don't want to be living a fake 4 years of your college experience, and you can only fake it for so long, so it's better to join some organization that you fit in or that you belong to rather than just fitting in.
Yeah, and I think that this is a really important topic to talk about when it comes towards recruitment, because as stressful and as scary as it is to go through formal recruitment and how much you really want to be like promoting the best version of yourself, it is really important to really show your true self. And like everyone's gonna say this, but you really have to trust the process, because once you show who you really are, you will find that organization where you belong in rather than fit in.
Right. And I feel like a lot of people, everyone just says like, you know, like when you go there, like you'll just know. And like honestly, I feel like that's really true. You can walk into every single different room and you're not gonna feel like you belong in every single one of them, and that's okay. So when you talk to the girls that you feel that you click with, or maybe you don't, and then you go back another round and you find someone else that you click with, like you got to remember that these organizations have over 100 girls. So just because you talk to someone one day that you didn't really click with doesn't mean that no one in that sorority you won't find your home. So
yeah, absolutely. And it is also important, I think, to be really critical as well, because I know there were some really wonderful conversations I had in other organizations that were not the one that I ran home to. But on the flip side of that, just really paying attention to if you are connecting to the organization and to it as a whole rather than just one or two really good conversations.
Right. And then there's also a lot of other things that go into it too, like philanthropy and, you know, everything like that. So, I don't know. I feel like belonging is also having the feeling where you think, or not that you think, but you know that the other people around you want you to be there just as much as you want to be there yourself. Instead of sitting in a room uncomfortably with people feeling like you're being judged, which no one wants that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be good to talk about like why we stayed in our organizations.
Okay.
Because I feel like, I mean, these are very large organizations of a very large number of girls, and any large organization like that is going to be full of people that don't always get along, which doesn't take away from the feeling of belonging. It just kind of means there might be some differing aspects and personalities.
Right.
I know I personally have experienced some hardships that have almost led me to want to walk away from the organization. But it really was a time in my life where I needed to lean on someone, and because I went into recruitment with wanting to find somewhere where I belong, I did have those people that I was able to lean back on, and ultimately that is what has led me to stay this long and has enjoyed my time.
Yeah, I feel like mine's also kind of similar. I feel like when first joining, I felt like I really belonged, and then I went through this little like spell of like thinking, like just me putting in my own head that people were cliquey and that no one wanted me around, but that's just like my own problem. Like that, I was just making that up in my head. That wasn't a real thing. I don't know why I thought that, but I think that my big and just my fam kind of pushed me to go outside of my comfort zone and do things without them, because I would only want to show up if they were there, and I would only want to do anything if they were coming with me, and I really just didn't want to do anything else. So them pushing me to do things outside of that realm, and my roommate joined our organization or my organization, but it just worked out that like I branched out and tried for leadership opportunities, and you know, it's all fail and try again, and you know, so
Yeah.
just the push itself is a good reason to stay.
And
also.
I think part of belonging in general can be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And the point, or at least what I have experienced in Greek life, has been these wonderful women around me, not just in my organization, but in the Panhellenic community as a whole, have really worked to push me past my comfort zone and into leadership positions like you were as well. And I really think, like, as a whole, I have been changed for the better because of that. Yes. Even though during the first maybe year or two it felt really uncomfortable and scary to put yourself out there.
Right.
I think it is important to have that sense of belonging and sense of support in order to promote that type of growth.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. What should we talk about next?
Maybe we could talk a little bit more about fitting in.
Okay.
And about what that can look like, because fitting in and belonging are very, very similar. And they can feel very, very, very similar. Because it's like, obviously you're not limited to having friends just in your organization, but like there are people that I fit in with well outside of my organization, but that doesn't necessarily mean I fit in as a whole with their organization,
right?
Which is not a bad thing.
No,
at all.
not at all.
But trying to fit into something that you don't feel like you belong to can be like really, I feel, very detrimental.
Yeah.
And very like harmful to your sense of self.
Right. Like I said, you can only fake it for so long. You just have to be true to yourself, and you know what's right or wrong. If you feel like you are trying to change what you say or what you do or who you hang out with and trying to do something to think it's cool, like that's not belonging, and you'll know that. You won't feel like anyone's forcing you to do something, or the people around you will be able to accept the differences that you guys have. You don't have to pretend to like you could love an artist and I could hate them, but that's okay because like that's how it should be. Like you should just be able to be yourself, which is like I feel like the number one thing.
Yeah, and I really feel like it bounces back onto our topic about values and our value-based recruitment, because fitting in, like I said, like I have friends outside of my organization, like a lot of friends around the Panhellenic community as a whole, but the reason I felt such a belonging to my specific organization was because of the values they had and how those values were instilled in every single one of the women in that organization. Right. So really, like the reason values gets brought up within this topic is because that really, to me, is stripping down like what you really want out of this experience to the core, and really getting to look at how that aligns with our organizations on campus.
Yeah, like no matter what any girl in an organization, like whatever their values are, the values of the organization itself, they're still going to be representing. So, like, for example, if one of the organizations that you join is loyalty, you're going to show your loyalty to the best of your ability to your sisters. So, just like for an example, or same thing with like sisterhood, you're going to value sisterhood. I don't know how to like explain that one really much. I mean, just value the sisterhood as a whole and every single person in it.
And as tricky as it sounds, after we listed all of those values for all of our organizations and how similar there are, even with that overlap, you can feel from each of the organizations which ones they really exemplify more. I know that Sigma Kappa, one of their biggest values that I see around our campus a lot is their service. And like that goes for all of the other organizations as well. Like you can, not that they favor one over the other, but you can really get a sense of which values are really strongly held in that specific organization, even if they do overlap with other values in other organizations.
And that goes also with like a lot of the values will kind of show within the philanthropy side of the organization. So they like everything just like ties together somehow and is being represented like every day through each sister somehow, some way.
Yeah, I think really the reason that this topic is so important is because it is a very long, scary list of values. However, it is something that is important to look at, and also to look at your own values to see where that lines up. And it is also an important part of letting your guard down and being yourself through recruitment to make sure that you are going to end up to the home you belong in.
Right. And like these values also could look so different for every single girl in the chapter. Mm-hmm. For example, Gamma Phi Beta, one of theirs is love. Okay, who do you love? You can love, everyone can have the same value of love, but you can love your parents, you can love your friends, you can love your animals. Like, every single person can have the same value and it be, like, represented so differently. Mm-hmm. So, you all share the same values or underlying values, but showing them might be in a different way. And when I think that you go through recruitment and you meet these girls, you'll kind of know the like genuinity and or like feel how the genuine connections sometimes can really be there and sometimes they can't, and you'll just really know. Like, I feel like that's how you'll know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think it's just a really cool thing to have values as a whole, because these values aren't just for our chapters on this campus. These are the values for the national organizations of all of these sororities. So there's women all around the country that are also sharing these values with you, which on the outside look different and they present different, but at their core are the same as yours.
Right, exactly. So I just feel like even after joining, like during recruitment, I know it might not be the best to know right away if you feel like you do belong. Like, you might get a bid from an organization that you might not know much or think, oh, like, I don't belong here. But I feel like giving it a shot, because again, there are so many girls in each organization that somewhere in there you'll find at least one or two friends and sprout from there, or like, you know, be a leader, or, you know, just put in what you want to get out of it. I know a lot of people say that, but if you want to belong, then you're also going to have to make the effort to make other people feel like they belong as well. So
yeah, and that is incredibly important. You want to be able to really, when you go through this recruitment, like Sarah said, when you want to be somewhere that you belong, and it might be hard to see at first. I know for me, it was down to the very last day before I saw where I knew I belonged. And it, like I said, it might be hard to see at first, but at the end of the day, it's something drew you to that place. And you want to be as genuine as you can to end up in your home that has the same values as you, because you also want to be proud enough to promote those values and to really want to make those people feel as like they belong as much as you did when you went through that recruitment.
Right. And that also goes to say, just like, if you feel like someone, if you're in an organization, or if you're a new member and you see another new member, or if you see someone else in the organization that feels like they're trying to fit in, go and make them not have to fit in. Make them feel like they belong, and just like you can impact other people, which can branch out to be like making sure everyone feels like they belong. Just like one person can start, like, make a big difference to someone else if they feel like they don't belong.
Yeah, and I think that is a really powerful thing that sororities are able to do, is to bring women together that feel this sense of belonging in a location that is far away from their home, or they're out on their own for the first time. And I think these values and the feeling of belonging is really what a sorority is here for you.
Yeah. Should we give some, like, tips?
Yeah, we can give tips.
I feel like a big tip to feeling like you belong and having your name out there and be well known to like all your sisters to make an impact, go to sisterhood events, go to things, go to cleanups, go to philanthropy events, go to other organizations' philanthropy events. Like, just show up for everyone else and you'll automatically feel love from every other organization and appreciation.
Yeah, and it's like all of these events hosted by whichever organization you end up in or anything like that, they usually reflect their values. So
right,
even if it's like, oh, I really don't want to drive all the way out to the beach to do this cleanup today, but I think like it's still important to go to those things because at the end of the day, it is a group of women serving their community, getting closer to each other, studying in the library, just working towards the same goal can be really powerful and can make you feel really fulfilled in this organization and Panhellenic as a whole.
Right. And like show your face. Even if like joining a sorority is something that you never thought you would do, like us. Yeah. Like you may start off as like so shy and so just like don't know what to do, but again, you might be new to college, you might be a freshman, you might have been here for a year, like whatever the case may be, somehow you will come out of your comfort zone. Somehow someone, or even if it's yourself, if it's like the confidence to just like start doing things that you didn't really think that you do, or if you do get a big or whatever the case may be, just try it and make it worthwhile because you are paying money for it. So that's another big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is definitely as cliche as it sounds. You will have that initial feeling of belonging, but in order to maintain that, you need to put in what you expect to get out of it.
Right. If you give nothing, you're going to get nothing. If you give it all, maybe you'll become president. Who knows?
Who knows? Well,
all right. Well,
good luck on y'all's journeys.
Yes.
And we'll see you in the fall.
Yes.